25th April 2019 is hereby approved. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Votes and proceedings of Thursday, 25th April 2019 is hereby approved. Announcements. Letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, presidential decision to decline assent to the National Transport Commission Bill 2018. Pursuant to Section 58(4) of the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I hereby convey to Senate my decision on 18 April 2019 to decline presidential assent to the National Transport Commission Bill 2018 recently passed by the National Assembly. I am declining assent to the bill because 1. The broad regulatory ambit of the proposed National Transport Commission (NTC) over the operation and management of the vast Nigeria transport sector, subordinating all subsisting institutions and structures to the NTC, conflicts with the areas of regulatory oversight of the recently established Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. 2. The bill seeks under Part 21, Section 110(1) and B, 1 and 2, to take away the authority of the Minister for Works as confirmed by the Federal Highways Act in the management, direction, and control of the Federal Highways in Nigeria, and vest the power in the Commission. 3. The provision of Sections 107(3), 108, and the test schedule to the bill, which attempt to transfer the obligations and liabilities of Nigeria Shippers Council to the Commission and transmit the Nigeria Shippers Council into the National Transport Commission are misconceived. The Commission should be established as a new entity in view of the required skill set and expertise for the performance of a regulatory function. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurance of my consideration. Yours, Mohammed Buhari. I wish to acknowledge the presence of members of the Catholic Diocese in Abuja who are in the gallery to observe Senate proceedings. I wish them fruitful observation of the Senate proceedings. Please sit down. Thank you. Leader of Senate. Point of Order, Senator Kabiruga.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Kabiruga, representative of Kano South from Kano State. I want to come under Order 42 and Order 52, sir, with their permission. It says, the matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless it is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. 52, notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceedings for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the Senators present. Mr. President, I discussed this very serious issue with you yesterday, and I know you are aware, so I'm appealing to you to present this motion, sir.
Distinguished colleagues, Senator Gabriel, please see me on this. It's according to our rules that I need to take the leave of our members. Those in favor will take this motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Carry on, Senator Gabriel.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. This motion is sponsored by myself, Shehu Sani, and Senator Barrow Jibrin, and all the senators in this Senate, sir, which is a very important motion, and we'll start it. I'm concerned on this issue of one Zainab Habibu Aliyu, who has been the topic of the day for the last few days, that an innocent girl traveled to Saudi Arabia and some cabals in the National Assembly, in the airport, put some baggage to tag some baggage to her. And this baggage was confirmed and was carrying tramadol as inhabited drug. So my concern, Mr. President, is bring this matter and to show that really it was investigated and this innocent lady is still being arrested in Saudi Arabia. So I may read, Mr. President, this. The Senate should note with serious concern the plight of Zainab Habib Aliyu, arrested by Saudi Arabian police for drug-related offenses. Note that on the 24th of December, Zainab Habib Aliyu boarded a flight to Saudi Arabia from Malam Aminu Kano International Airport and landed in Jeddah the same day, and she proceeded to Medina. And on reaching Medina, 2 days later, the police of Saudi Arabia arrested her. They went to her hotel and arrested her. On the 26th December, Zainab was arrested and detained by Saudi officials on suspicion that a luggage which her name tag was found in the airport and the luggage contains unlawful substance. Aware that Zainab, a student of Metama Sule University, Kano, has no idea where the said luggage came from, because she only came with one luggage. And he went to the airport, cleared her luggage and left. Later she was asked there was an extra luggage she left behind. Aware also that the following arrest of Zainab, her father wrote or called the Nigerian embassy in Saudi Arabia and appealed to them to help. They told him to write a letter to the NDLE, which he did. Copies of these letters are here, sir. Concerned that Zainab's father, Habib Aliyu, petitioned the NDLA as instructed. Consequently, the NDLA launched an investigation which led to the arrest of 6 persons and 1 still at large. They were involved in the conspiracy. Their names are Idris Umar Shehu, alias Umar Sanda, Sani Suleiman, Nuh Adamu, Roda Adetunji, Odeson Itoro Henry, and Sani Hamisu. Recall that these 6 people arrested by NDA were charged to court, and the culprits confessed orally and in writing of their involvement into the case. And they were charged to court on 3-count charges under the NDLE Act. Unfortunately, Mr. President, when these guys were brought to court, when these culprits were brought to court, the Federal High Court in Kano, the judge released them on bail while Saudi Arabia is still investigating that case. It's unfortunate. Convinced that all evidence of the arrest were communicated to Saudi Arabian authority through the Nigerian consulate in Jeddah, but still now Zainab is still under custody of Saudi Arabian authority. Also on the same day, during my investigation, found that one Ibrahim Abubakar, 75-year-old man, also faces the same fate as Zainab in Saudi Arabia. On the same day, one of those cartels put a bag for Zainab, another bag for this 75-year-old man, which they carried to airport, and they're all arrested. That same old man is at the custody of Saudi Arabian police. However, that Zainab's case is one of the many cases that drugs are planted in innocent travelers' luggages at various airports in Nigeria without their knowledge, and such innocent Nigerians are paying the price of. Recall many Nigerians have been victims of capital punishment in various parts of the world due to drug-related offenses. This instance will raise a question whether such people were also victims like Zainab. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, after raising this issue, I have some prayers, which is one I can read the prayers now. The prayers are: 1, urge the federal government to do everything possible to secure the release of Zainab Habib Aliyu and Ibrahim Abubakar by Saudi Arabian government. For investigation here in Nigeria has proven that Zainab and Ibrahim are both victims of drug cartel. And consequently, the 6 persons the drug cartel have been arrested and charged court in Nigeria and undergoing trial. The second prayer is that the government should set up an ad hoc committee to investigate this matter and report back to the Senate within 1 week, because it involves sorry. Then the last prayer is to inquire the reason why the Federal High Court judge in Kano releases the 6 people charged by NDLA for the alleged offense on bail, knowing fully well that these people have incriminated an innocent girl, and this girl is arrested and detained in the country that the practice of capital punishment for drugs-related offenses is killing. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, my colleagues. I also want to thank all the people on social media and all the journalists and the press for their effort in trying to bring this into for Nigerians to know. Thanks for all the support, and thank you, my colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, let me congratulate and commend the Senate for coming up with this motion, as it is a motion sponsored and co-sponsored by everybody in the Senate. I believe that the time is ripe to take the most appropriate and drastic action against those who have made life worthless and meaningless. Mr. President, those operators in our airports who have taken to putting drugs, illicit drugs, in the bags of unsuspecting passengers lead to the death and execution of our citizens in foreign lands. It is therefore time that we not only ask for our government and all the authorities to work for Zainab to regain her freedom, but to sanitize our airports. So many people might have been executed for reasons that they had no knowledge of. Now, these criminals are still there in the airports. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Ministry of Transportation, especially the aviation subsector, has to ensure that the security agencies operating in the airports are only those that are accredited. Anybody who is not, who is a tout, or who has no business being there, shouldn't be allowed to stay in, because most of what is going on is a syndicate, a cartel of people who are not maybe properly accredited to be there. And Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, airlines that are found to have their people involved in this must be penalized. They must be penalized because they too are supposed to ensure that they have people who work for them that are people of honest character and therefore should never be involved in this kind of thing. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I want to submit that for the federal government to do those things that we think will bring sanity, we need our committees here, the Senate committees on aviation, on judiciary, on drugs and narcotics and foreign affairs, to investigate thoroughly how these operations are carried out and who carried the operations. I believe that it is our duty, even though this Senate has only just about a month, but even if it is a day, it is the duty of this Senate to ensure that we do everything possible within our powers to bring to book those who are involved in this and ensure that reputation does not happen in our airports. And we must swing to action immediately because time is of essence. As for Zainab, it is the duty of every one of us in this administration, both the legislature and the executive arm of government, to ensure that this lady does not lose her life, that she regains her freedom, and if it is possible, she's returned home immediately. I believe that this is a motion that every one of us will support, and I urge all of us here to make it a priority. Just like we talked about kidnappings last week, so should it be for what is happening in our airports across the country, not only limited to Kano, but even in Lagos, possibly in Port Harcourt, maybe in Enugu. This kind of thing might be happening. Life is precious, and the life of one citizen of this country must be so important to us as a government. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Okay, Senator Njube, then Jibril.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, first, I want to commend the mover of the motion for bringing this very important and urgent matter. Mr. President, the issue of Zainab is very clear, and the stand of the Saudi government on issues related to drugs is also very clear, and therefore we should not waste time. And fortunately, I read last week that you have been appointed an ambassador at large for human rights or whatever. So this is going to be your first assignment. And I'm of the view that we form immediately a small team, probably yourself, the mover of the motion, and Senator Abdullahi and Wamako, this because they are the elders, and Senator Sam Nwog, to go immediately find a solution to this, especially if Zainab is a first-timer. In Saudi, they normally give reprisal for such first-timers. But if not, if they take a decision, it will be very, very difficult to reverse it. So I am suggesting that we quickly go to the prayers and set up this committee to immediately embark on that mission to see whether this girl can be rescued. I so move.
We go straight to prayers. Huh? Okay, let me just allow Senator Baraj, just since your constituency, just to speak briefly.
Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me this opportunity. I have insisted to speak, because I was enabled to the family that Zainab is from. The father is my friend, we're neighbors, and is someone that is known to have a very, very disciplined family. He has an astounding pedigree. The family is well disciplined, so it's quite unthinkable that this kind of thing could come from his family. That someone that will commit this kind of offense should come from his family. It was unbelievable. We never believed from the beginning. We knew that allegation ab initio right from beginning was false. This is a man that raised a good family and has very sound pedigree. He worked for several years in Kano State, and I think even worked under Senator Kabiru Gaya when he was the governor of Kano State. Before Jigawa was carved out from Kano, he moved to Jigawa, and he still maintained that sound discipline that we all knew about his family. So, Mr. President, this is quite unfortunate. We should not allow this girl to suffer for an offense that she never committed. And we've even gotten the reason how this happened. That a cartel that is always involved in doing this kind of thing. Several people have been arrested in this manner, probably executed in Saudi Arabia for no fault of theirs. So I am really glad, I'm happy that the whole Senate is in support of this girl, in support of making sure that we stop this kind of incidences happening in our airports, so that people will not be taken, will not be executed for no reason of theirs in Saudi Arabia and other countries. So I urge my colleagues to support this motion so that Zainab will be brought back home. Thank you.
Sorry, okay, let me allow two minutes, Senator Binta and Senator Gumel, that's it. And please be brief.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleague. I remain Senator Binta Masi Garba, representing representing Adamawa North Senatorial District. So I think I align myself completely to all the previous speakers. And again, to bring it to light of what this administration has gone too far to see how Zainab should be released back home, and what the Saudi Arabian government have done. They have now realized that Zainab is innocent, and they are allowing all the necessary administrative process to go on. But I think it's pertinent for us to bring it to the fore on how we traveled and how innocently some of us are being cajoled to take things that are not ours to other people outside the shore of this country. And if necessary measures will be put in place, this issue wouldn't have been, occurring every day. So since this administration is working assiduously with the government of Saudi Arabia, we have to applaud even Honorable Abike for taking the landslide she has taken, and to see that this girl very soon will be released. But, Mr. President, sir, it's pertinent that what the leader of the Senate mentioned, that the Ministry of Aviation, that of Nukatik, and that of the Foreign Affairs will work in hands with that of the Ministry of Internal Affairs to see that you are only entitled to take what is yours, that you have packed yourself, not someone giving you. That will reduce the cartels that we have in most of our airports. I thank you so much.
Senator Gume.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, my name is Senator Abdullah Gumel. I come from Jigawa Northwest, from Jigawa State. Mr. President, I don't want to repeat myself on other aspects of this motion that was said. But, Mr. President, I'm surprised that the courts in Nigeria, while the courts in Saudi Arabia are still investigating this incident, the courts in Nigeria, after the confession, in writing and verbal, this culprit, they were granted bail. So, Mr. President, I think that bail should be quashed so that the people, even the people in Saudi Arabia, may know that we are very serious on this, and the people of Saudi Arabia may know that we are very serious on this, and these people should be arrested, rearrested, and continue with the investigation.
Thank you. We'll go to prayers. Prayer 1. Set up another committee to investigate this matter and report back to the Senate within 1 week. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Yes, amendments into Ndumi.
Mr. President, my amendment is for us to amend the prayers to reflect my opinion or suggestion that the committee made up of the Senate President, Senator Kabiru Gaya, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, Senator Sam Wogu, and Senator Wamaku should embark on a mission to intervene in this matter and report back to the Senate immediately.
Yes, Senator Keita.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I don't think the amendment that is proposed by Senator Ndume is necessary. Already, the federal government is in touch with Saudi government on the case of Zainab. Correspondence has been made. Even yesterday, Abike Dabri was on NTA trying to clarify. So far, the effort of the federal government, and they have accepted.
Senator Keita, you have to go to your seat. You're not speaking from your seat. Senator Gabiga, I want you to say something. Senator Juma.
I just want Gumel to be included because he's from Jigar State, and Shosani being someone from the civil society community and foreign affairs, so that he can be part of the delegation.
Okay, distinguished colleagues, the prayer one has amended that set up a committee to investigate and intervene in the matter and report back to the Senate as proposed. Those in favor say aye, those against say nay. Yes, prayer 2, urge the federal government to do everything possible to secure the release of Zainab and Bibo Aliu and Ibrahim Abubakar by the Saudi government for investigation here in Nigeria, as proven that Zainab and Ibrahim are both victims of the drug cartel, and consequently 6 members of the drug cartel have been arrested and charged to court, and the trial is ongoing. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye, those against say nay. Yes, prayer 3, inquire on the reason why the Federal High Court judge in Kano released the 6 people charged by NDLE for alleged offense on bail, knowing fully well that these people have incriminated an innocent girl, and this girl is arrested and detained in a country that practices capital punishment for drug-related offenders. Those in favor of prayer 3? Yes, amendment, yes.
Distinguished colleagues, my amendment is by way of dropping that prayers, because this is a judicial matter, a decision taken by court. I don't think in the principles of separation of power for this Senate to question the decision taken by that court, and I think it will be better we drop.
Okay, I think when you just put the question, they can, those in favor say aye, those against say nay. The nays have it. Additional prayer? If not, thank you both all those who have moved this very important motion. I think this matter deserves the utmost importance and attention that it requires. There are many issues here: the life of an innocent girl, the level of corruption by our agencies, and the image of this country. I think these are 3 very, very important issues where this matter needs to be taken up. The executive needs to play their role, and we as legislative also need to oversee and supervise to ensure. I think all hands on deck. I don't think this matter, there can be too many hands on deck to ensure that we protect this young lady's life and also get to the bottom of this cartel, and those who are responsible must be fished out and dealt with accordingly. Leader of Senate. Yeah, point of order, Senator Dino. Like.
Mr. President, my very respected colleagues, Dino Melaye, Kogi West. Mr. President, I draw celestial inspiration this morning from Order 42 and 52 of our rules. The matter for discussion, if possible, shall be referred to the President of the Senate before the commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless it is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Mr. President, we are in a constitutional democracy, and I am bringing to the notice of the Senate an infraction by the Chief of Army Staff, who just appointed the Director General of NYSC against the provisions of the NYSC Act and extant laws of this country. If I have your permission, it's just a one-line motion. I will want to take it so that as a Senate and in view of our oversight functions over the MDAs, we correct this anomaly. Mr. President.
So you're coming on that what, 43 or 42? 42. Distinguished colleagues, I need to take leave of our colleagues so that we can take this motion. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Carry on.
Mr. President, my very respected colleagues, the NYSC Act Section 5 reads thus, Mr. President. There shall be for the service corps a Director General who shall be appointed by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is the NYSC Act, and this is the instant law governing the NYSC. Surprisingly, Mr. President, the Chief of Army Staff, through signal, removed the Director General of NYSC and through signal appointed his replacement. Mr. President, the Armed Forces Act did not in any way empower any other person to appoint the Director General of NYSC other than the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This Senate is also aware that previous Director Generals of the NYSC, including the immediate past DG, was appointed by President Muhammadu Buhari and former presidents of this country. Nigeria is not a banana republic, and we should not allow a constitutional country that is governed by laws and legislation to be taken for granted. If we allow this, tomorrow, Mr. President, you will be surprised the announcement of the removal of the Senate President can come from road safety and its replacement by same institution. So, Mr. President, we should not lay a precedent. The law is the law. But I'm not going to belabor us with too much talk, Mr. President. My single prayer is, Mr. President, that the Committee on Youth and Sports of the Nigerian Senate investigate this matter and report back to the Senate within 1 week, so that we must lay a foundation that once we have laws, once we have rules, once we have conventions, they must be respected, they must be adhered to. NYSC is not a formation of the Nigerian Army. It is an institution created by law, an enactment of the National Assembly. And those laws must be respected. Mr. President, I so move.
Yes, Senator Albert.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished and respected colleagues, Senator Albert Bassi, Akwa Ibom Northeast. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion ably moved by the fearless Gino Melaye that the Committee on Youth and Sports investigates the abnormalities surrounding the appointment of the DG NYSC by the Chief of Army Staff. I so second, Mr. President.
Anybody contributing before I put the question? I'll go straight to the prayer then. Those in favor of the prayer, that the matter be referred to the Committee on Sports to report back to the Plenary Senate in 1 week. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Mao, did I hear you trying to amend a simple prayer like?
Mr. President, distinguished Senator Mao, who are happy or not. Mr. President, I'm not amending, but I'm adding additional prayer. Because if you ask to investigate and you have alluded to the fact that the appointment was wrong, ab initio, I think part of our prayer is that that appointment should be reversed for immediately. It should not stand. It should be put on hold. It should be put on hold. Because to be honest to you, Mr. President, it is the responsibility of the President to appoint. And unfortunately, people are mistaking NYC to be a military formation. Bringing Obasa as the first NYC DG, as a military man to head that does not mean that it's a military formation. Because even when I saw the posting, I was surprised, as if it was a military formation. But they forgot that military man heading that institution does not make NYC a military formation. It's the responsibility. What I'm saying is that if you have said that the appointment is wrong and you wait for the committee, then there's no point. If it's wrong, then this House should stand and say that that appointment should be kept on hold.
Distinguished colleagues, we have already referred the matter to the committee. Let the committee establish whether this was what happened, and based on the committee's recommendation, we can now take action. So let us leave the matter like that. Chief, we wanted to say something. Oh yeah, tell us what you wanted to say.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues.
Are you speaking as a senator? Are you speaking as a former?
Let the Senate know the rules of the military. Yes. I'm on the floor. I'm recognized. The problem that the Chief of Army Staff has the responsibility to post any service military officers. And if the Chief of Army Staff posts a service officer to any position, he has the right, because the posting of military is under his supervision. This is us. Why do you say no? No, this is true. Sir, no. It's the responsibility of yes. Okay. So I don't want to let
distinguished colleagues, I think Senator Francis said we forget that one. I don't think Leader of the Senate. So the matter is referred to the Committee on Sports. Senator Oga, by next week, Wednesday, this report should be back with us here. Lay and consider. It's a very straightforward matter. All right, thank you. Leader of the Senate. Yeah, point over there, Senator Shimusani.
Mr. President, I come under order 43. By the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there may be no question before the Senate. But no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when he is leave to make it is sought. Mr. President,
Senator Fashib.
Mr. President, I stand here to announce what has happened yesterday on the 29th of April 2019. Mr. President, yesterday around 3:30 p.m., bandits along Kaduna-Abuja Expressway blocked the road and kidnapped over 40 people. Among them was the chairman of UBEC, Dr. Mohammed Abubakar Mahmoud. He was a 3-term member of Kaduna State House of Assembly, and he stands as the chairman of UBEC. He was kidnapped along with his daughter, and his driver was killed instantly. Mr. President, the kidnapping of Dr. Mohammed and others yesterday was reflective of the fact that all measures taken along that route has not actually been working. Kidnapping along Kaduna-Abuja Express Road has been an issue that we discuss here daily. We must not give up bringing the attention of those with the levers act to do what is needful. We must recognize that the IG of police has actually launched Operation Puff Adder along that route in the last 3 to 4 weeks. And the police gave assurances that the road is clear and that people can move about and do their normal businesses. But it is a fact, with what has happened yesterday, that the road is as dangerous as it has always been. Kaduna has now unfortunately become the hub of kidnapping. That route has become one of the most dangerous and tragic routes in the country today. It is unfortunate that all the solutions and all the actions taken has not actually produced any tangible results in terms of securing that route. A nation like Nigeria, with such resources and personnel to ensure the safety of that route, has failed in its responsibility. That route has seen so many people kidnapped: lawyers, doctors, engineers, politicians, and clergies. It is very much unfortunate that a nation like ours cannot secure a route that leads to our capital city. Mr. President, as a Senate, we must always highlight and bring to spotlight this, that if this is not a failure, I don't know what we call a failure. All the suggestions and recommendations that have been made in this house, in this chamber, has never in any way worked. They will tell you it's clear, you go, you see nothing. I think it is time on us for us to make another resolution, bringing the attention of the President that he must do everything possible to secure the lives of people along that route. I thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yeah, point of order, Senator Keita.
Thank you. I'm coming under the same rule. By the indulgence of the Senate President and the leave of the President, a senator may make a personal explanation of arise from the explanation. The time of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it sought. Mr. President, I'm standing here before the Senate to give an account of the unfortunate incident that happened yesterday on the Kaduna-Abuja road. Mr. President, taking a cue from what Sheikh Sani had just said here, I think he's misleading the...
Sorry, well, hang on a second. Sheikh Sani came under order 42 and 52. Who? Did you come under... You came under 43. Personal explanation. Yeah, so according to rules under personal explanation, there can't be any debate. So let me finish that 43 first on his own order before you come up, because he has come up. I need to rule on that and make a pronouncement on that. Senator Sheikh Sani has made some observations on the unfortunate situations regards the kidnapping of the UBEC and the concerns. I think, as we all agreed last week, we also made a motion here that the acting IG will come before us and we'll put heads together to discuss a series of kidnappings in the country. And I hope that, and I think that will be an appropriate time also to take up some of these issues that you have raised. And that will probably be the best way forward on this, and continue to hope and appeal that the police help in rescuing the gentleman and the family. And then hopefully when he comes here, we'll have a more holistic approach to finding a solution to these unfortunate rampant incidents of kidnapping, particularly on this Kaduna-Abuja road. And then, Senator Keita, you now came in on personal explanation, but again, if you read what personal explanation 43 says, that in terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of Senate when he is leave to make is sought. And you know you have not complied with that, so I have to rule you out of order. Leader of the Senate. No, deny you are not following the rules. When you follow the rules, I'll let you talk. Leader of the Senate. You cannot speak. No. When you are in the Senate, you behave according to the rules. The rules are there, you follow the rules. When you learn the rules, then I'll allow you to speak. Leader of the Senate. Yeah. Inform, gentlemen, listen to the rules, educate yourself. The rule says you must inform the President of the Senate before you speak. And you have not done that, so you have not followed the rules. When you learn the rules, I'll allow you to speak. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the Chartered Institute of Auctioneers of Nigeria Bill 2019. Mr. President, I wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Chartered Institute of Auctioneers of Nigeria Bill 2019, HB 599, first reading.
Chartered Institute of Auctioneers of Nigeria Bill 2019, HB 599, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is also the presentation of House Bill standing in my name on the National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Order, Mr. President, may we invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, HB 1030, first reading.
National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, HB 1030, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Sabo Mohammed on the Industrial Development Act Income Tax Relief Amendment Bill 2019. Mr. President, may we invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Industrial Development Act Income Tax Relief Amendment Bill 2019, SB 734, first reading.
Industrial Development Act Income Tax Relief Amendment Bill 2019, SB 734, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Matthew Rogede on the Federal Audit Service Bill 2019. Mr. President, may we invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Audit Service Bill 2019, SB 742, first reading.
Federal Audit Service Bill 2019, SB 742, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Shima. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of the reports of the Committee on Women Affairs in respect of A. Nigeria's participation at the 62nd session of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women from 12 to 26 March 2018, held at United Nations Headquarters, New York, USA, and B. Joint visit by the Senate Committee on Women Affairs and House of Representatives Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development to the School of Social Work, MNA, Enugu State. Mr. President, may we invite Senator Binta Garba Masi chairman of the committee to move the motion for the Senate to receive the reports.
Senator Massey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Binta Masi Garba, representing Adamawa North Senatorial District of Adamawa State. I rise that this Senate do receive the report on the Committee on Women Affairs on A, Nigerian participation at the 62nd sessions of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women from the 12th to the 26th of March 2008, held at the United Nations headquarters, New York, USA, and also joint visit by the Senate Committee on Women Affairs and House of Representatives Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development to the School of Social Work, NMA, Enugu State. I so move.
Senator Danjumala.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do receive this report of the Committee on Women Affairs on Nigeria participation of the 62 session of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women from 12 to 26 March held at United Nations headquarters, New York, US. I second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Binta Masi, come and lay the report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very respected colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of the reports of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions in respect of A, petition from A.O. Aderele and Associates on behalf of the Guild of Medical Directors against the Federal Capital Territory Administration and Abuja Metropolitan Management Council for alleged multiple taxation and land use charges on private hospitals. B, petition from a group of yet to be reinstated staff of Federal University Dusuma against Federal University Dusuma, Kano, Katsina State for discriminatory treatment by the university. C, petition from Olushola or Riogbere Esquire on behalf of Mr. Gilbert Fiabo against the Petroleum Training Institute, Efrun, Delta State for unlawful termination of his appointment for alleged fraud and financial impropriety. And D, petition from Mycin Law Practice on behalf of Laje Global Think Tank Initiative against Stella Oketete of Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Nexim Bank, for fraudulent misrepresentation regarding her qualification to hold the post of Executive Director at Nexim Bank. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Samuel Anyao, Chairman of the Committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the reports.
Senator Anyao.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues, Sam Anyao, Imo East. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive the reports of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions in respect of A, petition from A.O. Aderele and Associates on behalf of Guild of Medical Directors against the Federal Capital Territory Administration and Abuja Metropolitan Management Council for alleged multiple taxation and land use charges on private hospitals. B, petition from a group of yet to be reinstated staff of Federal University Dusma against Federal University, USMA, Katsina State, for discriminatory treatment by the university. C. Petition from Olushola Orebere, Esquire, on behalf of Mr. Gilbert Viebo against the Petroleum Trading Institute, PTI, Eforo, Delta State, for unlawful termination of his appointment for alleged fraud and financial impropriety. And D. Petition from Mason Law Practice on behalf of Elijah Global Think Tank Initiative against Stella Okotete of Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Exim Bank, for fraudulent misrepresentation regarding her qualification to hold the post of Executive Director of Exim Bank. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Barajibin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barajibin. I stand to second the motion lately moved by the Chairman, Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges. I so second, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Samayam, come and lead the report. Leader of Senate.
Mr. President, very respected colleagues, because the chairman of the Committee on Judiciary is unavoidably absent, I will move that we stand down the consideration of the first order of the day till another legislative day. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion as moved by the Senate leader.
Leader, this is one on the Conference Committee on Process of Crime. Oh, okay. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of Senate.
Mr. President, equally, I move that we stand at consideration of the second order of the day till another legislative day. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, whether I know, I second the motion as moved, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day I want to move that we stand down the consideration of the third and fourth. Huh? Okay. The deputy is here. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Science and Technology on the Raw Materials Research and Development Council repeal and reenactment Bill 2019. The single senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Wednesday, the 24th day of October 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Abubakar Yusuf to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Leader, can I see you briefly, please?
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, hold on. I move that we stand down to consideration of the third and fourth orders of the day till another legislative day.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion as moved. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Appropriations on the 2019 Appropriation Bill. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Wednesday, the 17th day of April 2019. Mr. President, may we to invite Senator Danjuma Goje, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Senator Danjuma Goje.
Mr. President, I am Mohammed Danjuma Goje, representative of the Central. I hereby move that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Appropriation on the 2019 Appropriation Bill. I so move.
Senator Walker.
Mr. President, to rise to second motion. Ably moved by Senator Goje. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Appropriation on the 2019 Appropriation Bill, SB 721, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Daniel Goje, kindly present the report, please.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate may recall that on Tuesday, 18 December 2018, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, laid before a joint sitting of the National Assembly the 2019 Appropriation Bill, which contains the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the Federation for the 2019 fiscal year in the aggregate sum of 8,836,636,575,915 naira only. The budget proposal is aimed at consolidating the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP, of the government. Legislative action. The Senate debated on the general principles of the bill on Wednesday 13th and Tuesday 19th March 2019, read it a second time, and consequently referred same to the committee for further legislative action. In view of the short time given to the committee to process the bill and report back, the Senate and the House of Representatives Committees on Appropriation made and drew up a work plan which was approved by the leadership to guide the processing of the bill. In addition, the committee engaged its subcommittees on the approved work plan to guidelines provided for the processing of the bill and were urged to adhere to it. Furthermore, a one-day public hearing on the bill was conducted on Wednesday, 27 March 2019, to gain additional information from heads of MDS, as well as receive inputs from stakeholders, government, and citizens groups. Revenue projection for 2019 budget. In preparing this budget report, the committee adopted the medium-term expenditure framework, so fiscal strategy paper, MTEP, approved by the National Assembly as shown below. Of course, the daily production was retained, represented as 2.3 million barrels per day, and it was the National Assembly approved same. benchmark oil price $60 per barrel. It was attained $60 per barrel. Exchange rate $305 US, 305 naira per dollar. It was also retained. I want to say that this is the first time, virtually in this live with this National Assembly, when benchmark presented by executive was not increased or tempered with. We maintain the $60 per barrel which was presented by the executive. Highlights of the 2019 operation here is as stated below, stating the aggregate expenditure, statutory transfers, fiscal deficit, special intervention, recurrent expenditure, capital expenditure, and deficit to GDP, as stated in this paragraph. There is a slight increase in the budget deficit. This is as a result of the provision for the severance benefits of the outgoing legislators and legislative aides, the induction and orientation, as well as inauguration of new legislators, all of which occur only once in 4 years, but were inadvertently not captured in 2019 budget proposal. There was also the need to provide more funds for the security and intelligence agencies to deal with additional emerging unforeseen security challenges in the country. Prayer or recommendation. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, having thoroughly examined the reports and recommendations of the subcommittees and inputs received from the public at the National Budget public hearing, the committee hereby recommend that the Senate do consider and approve a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation. Senate Leader. Will I continue? Yeah, money. A bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, the total sum of 8,906,999,373 naira only, of which 502,892,964 naira only is for statutory transfers. 2,254,014,113,002 naira only is for debt service. 4,052,940,383,684 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 2,094,950,790,632 naira only is for the contribution to the development fund for capital expenditure. In line with the provisions of Section 318 of the Constitution of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, this bill will run for a course of 12 months starting from the date it was assented to. Mr. President, before I conclude this report, I want to bring additional prayer which will be included in this bill. Following the resolution of this Senate that a provision of 10 billion naira should be provided to assist the victims of the Zamfara crisis, the Operation Committee hereby recommend that 10 billion naira be added to the already stated aggregate expenditure, and that 10 billion naira will be included in the service-wise vote. So, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I hereby submit our recommendations for your consideration and approval. On behalf of the Operation Committee, I wish to thank Mr. President of the Senate and the entire Senate leadership for the support given to the committee in processing this bill. I also wish to appreciate the cooperation and understanding of the subcommittees throughout the period of working on the bill by this committee. Thank you very much. I thank you all. Thank you.
Contribution, if not, leader. Yes, and Bintamasi.
Sorry, Bintamasi Garba, Adamawa, Centurial District. Sorry, just to get a clarification on the last comment he made mention, the committee chair, on the 10 billion that we are all agreed that should be given to the Zamfara state because of the crisis that is in that. But if it is supposed to be in the service-wide vote, I was thinking, we don't know the quantum of money in that service-wide vote. But instead of adding another 10 billion into that service-wide vote, I was thinking that funds should come in from the service-wide votes given to the people. But I think we just needed a clarification because it said 10 billion should be added to the service-wide vote. So one, how much is it within the service-wide vote? And why is it that we have to add another 10 billion instead of deducting 10 billion from the service-wide vote? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Agojo.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the 10 billion we recommended is to be added, not subtracted. It means the aggregate deficit will be increased by 10 billion naira. And therefore, it's going to be a separate head inside the service-wide vote. 10 billion naira to support or alleviate the suffering of the victims of Zamfara crisis. Thank you.
If no other queries, then leader of Senate can move to Committee of Supply.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate is going to the Committee of Supply to consider the report of the Appropriations Committee.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion as moved.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, I now put the questions, starting with the schedules. Schedule A, statutory transfers. Schedule A, statutory transfer, National Judicial Council, Niger Delta Development Commission, Universal Basic Education, National Assembly, Public Complaints Commission, INEC, National Human Rights Commission, total statutory transfer, the total sum of 502,858,892,965 naira for the head of total statutory transfer stands part of schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Schedule Part B, debt service. Debt service, domestic debt, foreign debt, subtotal 2,144,014,113,082. That this sum naira for the head of Part B debt service of schedule stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Sinking fund to retire maturing loans, subtotal 110 billion. Those in favor that this naira stands part of Schedule B. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the sum of 2,254,014,113,092 naira for the head of Part B debt service stands as part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part C, Schedule C, recurrent non-debt expenditure. Executive, Presidency, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Ministry of Interior, Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Auditor General for the Federation, Ministry of Communication and Technology, Office of the National Security Advisor, Infrastructure Concessionary Regulatory Commission, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Federal Ministry of Finance, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, Federal Ministry of Transport, Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, Ministry of Petroleum Resources, Ministry of Mines and Steel Development, Ministry of Budget and National Planning, National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, Fiscal Responsibility Commission, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, Federal Ministry of Justice, Independent Corruption Practices and Related Offences Commission, Ministry of Niger Delta Services, Federal Ministry of Youth and Sport Development, Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, Federal Ministry of Education, Federal Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Environment, National Population Commission. Subtotal of the Executive, 2,846,860,857,330 for head of the Executive stands part of the Schedule C. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Federal Executive Bodies, Code of Conduct Bureau, Code of Conduct Trial, Federal Character Commission, Federal Civil Service Commission, Public Police Service Commission, Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, subtotal for Federal Executive Bodies, 9,839,782,930 naira for head of subtotal Federal Executive Body stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Pension gratuity and retires benefit, 528,067,517,289 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Office of the Head of Civil Service Civilian Pension, 30,691,13,524 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Military pensions and gratuities, 196,176,233,061 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. NHIS military retirees, 9,524,923,546 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. DIA civilian staff pension gratuities, 240,552,551 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Police pension and gratuities, pension 7,412,463,652 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Customs, Immigration and Prison Pension Office pension, 8,422,000,000. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Universities pension, including arrears, pension 14,343,326,479. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Parastatals pension and railway pensions, pensions of 26,756,754,031 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Pre-1996 Nigeria Railway Corporation pension, 2,257,298,262 naira. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of State Security pensions, including arrears, 13,733,344,574. Those in favor of this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Nigeria Intelligence Agency pension dependence benefits, 3,709,146,567. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. NEMCO, 16,642,621,229. Those in favor that this stands part of those say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Arrears of pension liabilities, 10 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Arrears of 33% increase in pension rates, 50 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Payment into redemption fund, 5% of total pension personnel cost, 73,995,745,200 naira. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Pension protection fund, 10 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Payment benefits of retired heads of service and permanent secretaries and professors, 4,502,491,809. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Severance benefits to retired heads of government agencies and parastatals, 1 billion. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Entitlements of former presidents, head of states and vice president, chief of general staff, 2 billion 300 million. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Payment of outstanding terminal benefits of Nigeria Airways ex-workers, 682,832,166 naira. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Severance gratuity for outgoing legislators and legislative aides, allowances for incoming legislators and legislative aides, and induction programs to inauguration of the 9th Assembly. Stand at 23,678,770,078. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Other service-wide votes, 971,172,226,134. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Payment of outstanding debt benefit to civil servants stroke police, 5 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Group life insurance for all MDAs, including DSS insurance of sensitive assets, corpus plus administrative monitoring, 15 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Public service wage adjustment for MDAs, including arrears of promotion and salary increases and payments of severance benefits, 160 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Military operations, Lafayette, Adoli, and other operations of the armed forces, 75 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Settlement of MDA's electricity bills, 5 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. IPPS IS capturing 2 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Payment for outsourced services, 2.5 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Margin for increases in cost and recurrent adjustment costs, 4 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Presidential Amnesty Program reintegration of transformed ex-militants, 65 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Service-wide training of budget planning officers and gift MIS budget preparation system, BPS, as well as monitoring and evaluation of all projects nationwide, 2 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Special intervention program recurrent, 350 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Contingency recurrent, 15 billion 800 million. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. International sporting competitions, 4 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. TSC operations, 4 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Employee Compensation Act, Employees Compensation Fund, 4 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Contribution to international organizations, 20 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Power Sector Reform Program transferred to INVET, 150 billion 402 million 49,347 naira. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Gavi and immunization, 21 billion 250 million 424,823 naira. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Basic Health Care Fund, 51 billion 219 million 751,964 naira. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Additional support for universities, 15 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Then, in line with the recommendation as read by the chairman, we have additional item there, 10 billion for victims of Zamfara. What do we term it, Chairman? What do you term the Zamfara? Yeah, what is it? Yeah, what do we describe it? What's the terminology?
We can say the presidential initiative on Zamfara. Presidential initiative on Zamfara. 171, 172. What do you want to put it?
Presidential 108 Presidential Initiative on Victims in Zamfara, 10 billion. Those in favor? Yeah.
It's not appropriate. Let me suggest that federal government intervention on Zamfara, because this consists of us and them rather than presidential. Federal government intervention on Zamfara.
Okay, so federal government intervention in Zamfara crisis, 10 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Total CRFL charges of 1,499,239,743,423 naira. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, Senator Binta, observation.
Sir, two issues. Even if we're including the 10 billion there, it's supposed to be 1.5, not 1.4. But again, sir, if you looked at the special intervention on 98, the special intervention program there is 350 billion. I was expecting if we are going to still maintain the 1.4 billion, we just put 340 billion there, then 10 billion for the federal government intervention. Then it comes to 1.4. But if we are like here, and then obviously it's 1.5.
By 10 billion.
So inside we have to deduct 10 billion from special intervention to 340, then 10 billion for the intervention.
And the budget side remains the same. Your mic.
Yeah, I think don't forget that we're also working with the House. I think there's a common position that's been taken by appropriation. Yes, Chairman, appropriation.
Mr. Chairman, like I said, we have agreed on the House with the House to put it that way. If we now do our own differently, we have to go into conference. That will delay everything. In any case, the federal government intervention program has been consistently put at 500 billion. And I think it will not be advisable for the Senate in the last budget of this tenure to just change this thing. The federal government is expected to get 500 billion. I strongly advise that we keep that 500 billion and put the 10 billion separately so that we don't confuse the two programs.
Just slight correction. Can I put the question again on total CRFL charges as 1,509,239,743,423 naira sounds part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Total recurrent non-debt will now read 4,065,940,383,684 naira. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part D, capital expenditure. Capital expenditure, Part D, Executive, Presidency, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Information and Culture, Ministry of Interior, Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Auditor General of the Federation. I will take it. Auditor General of the Federation, Ministry of Communication Technology, Office of National Security Advisor, Infrastructure Concession and Regulatory Commission, Office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Federal Ministry of Finance, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment, Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, Federal Ministry of Transportation, Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, Ministry of Mines and Steel and Development, Ministry of Budget and National Planning, National Salaries, Incomes and Wage Commission, Fiscal Responsibility Commission, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, Federal Ministry of Justice, Independent Corrupt Practices and Related Offences Commission, Federal Capital Territory Administration, Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, Federal Ministry of Youth Sports Development, Federal Ministry of Water Women Affairs, Federal Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Environment, National Population Commission, subtotal executive 1,443,106,943,083 naira. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Federal Executive Body, Code of Conduct, Code of Bureau, Code of Conduct Tribunal, Federal Character Commission, Federal Civil Service Commission, Police Service Commission, Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Subtotal of Federal Executive Body is 2,627,985,693. Stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Capital supplementation, Federal Special Intervention Program Capital, Federal Special Intervention Program, Social Housing, Family Homes Fund, counterpart funding including Global Fund, Health and Gavi Global Fund, payment of local contractors, debts and other liabilities, Galaxy Backbone, Give Me Capital, OSAP, SDG, Special Project Conditional Grants, OSAP, SDG's payment of ongoing projects, OSSAP's SDG Social Safety Net, OSSAP SDG Social SDG Project 1, OSSAP's SDG's SDG Project 2, OSSAP SDG SDG Project 3, recapitalization of development finance institution, Northeast Intervention Fund, Zonal Intervention Projects, Head of Service, Federal Government State Housing Loans Projects, subscription to shares in international organization, National Development Plans, means of budget and national planning, capital exigencies, adjustment to capital cost, contingency capital, grants and donor funded projects, Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, grants to BOI to support low interest lending to SMEs, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, total capital supplementation, 649,215,780,857 naira. Stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those, yep.
Before you put the question, I just want a clarification. The item 161, Northeast Intervention Fund. What exactly does that mean? Is it meant for the Northeast Development Commission or is going to another organization?
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Northeast Intervention Fund is meant to be utilized by the newly established Northeast Development Commission. No, you see, because when they brought this budget, when you party to us, we had sessions with the Minister of Budget and National Planning. They insisted that we should leave it as it is, but it's going to the National Development Commission. But this House, this Senate can change it, and so we left you to change it. But if you change it, then we have to also change it in the House.
Yes, Leader.
Mr. Chairman, we must be very explicit. There should be no room for any manipulation. Even if it is at the risk of taking with House, we better put the appropriate name there, Northeast Development Commission. Otherwise, someone somewhere will go and take money from this and we will have nothing to do because we would have failed in taking the right decision. So I suggest that if it is possible, we discuss, we talk, in fact, immediately with the House that they reflect the same thing. Let it be Northeast Development Commission. Thank you.
Yes, Senator Jimmy.
I agree with the observation or suggestion made by the leader. And in addition to that, Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, last year, in the same budget, it was the same amount of 45 billion that was allocated or appropriated to Northeast Development Commission. This is a last-minute appeal. Mr. President, it is on record that the destruction inflicted on the Northeast, in fact, Borno State alone, is calculated by international bodies to be $9.2 billion. That translates to over 22.7 trillion naira. Mr. President, we are grateful for the allocation of 45, but I'm appealing that that figure should be rounded up to 60. This is a last-minute appeal.
But you might, please, make some progress. I think the general consensus is that just for clarity, we should make that Northeast Commission fund. So if you can quickly, Chairman, Patricia, you can send somebody across to the House as well, so that while they too are considering, they can, on the name for the Northeast Intervention Fund, to have it not, yeah, Isa Mr. can go. I think that Northeast.
But if I have to do it, I must do it now because they are also currently.
That should be now. That's the point I'm saying, that should be now, so that before they conclude their own exercise. So, yeah. Any other observations before? Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Still on the issue of this 10 billion naira that was added to the service-wide votes. Mr. President, my own clarification is this. This money is just being introduced into this report. Secondly, if this is just being introduced, the aggregate expenditure will go up to 8.16 trillion. That is my own observation.
Yeah, you were not here when we discussed it this morning. So I think that's why you are raising, we had looked at all these issues at that point. So it wasn't introduced now. We had discussed it earlier before we started considering this. Yeah. When we go to the long title, we'll do that. Oh, okay. Observations, Senator Gaya.
Thank you, Mr. President. On this particular matter, on the issue of Northeast Intervention Fund, it was agreed that should be converted to Northeast Development Commission. And for every commission, it has a recurrent and a capital expenditure. This one is only covering the capital expenditure. What about the recurrent expenditure of the commission? It's not captured in the recurrent issue. It's not captured.
Senator Guy, I think that observation, all we can do today is to note it. I don't think. So I go back to. I think all we changed was nomenclature. So the figures still remain the same. So total capital supplementation, as I said, 649,250,780,857 naira stands part of the. What's 167? Go ahead, yeah.
Because it's just contingency capital and it's 10 billion naira. How are you not sure that this is not that of the Zamfara that is put here? Because it's open-ended. It is not tied to anything. Contingency 10 billion. So I don't know. I'm just probably the chairman could explain what is this 10 billion naira contingency capital.
Yeah, it's noted. Total capital supplementation 649,215,780,857 naira stands part of the schedule. Those who say aye, those against say nay, the ayes have it. Total capital expenditure 2,94,950,709,632 naira. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye, those against say nay, the ayes have it. Aggregate expenditure 8,916,964,099,373 naira stands part of this schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We now go to the 13 clauses. The 13 clauses. Clause 1, those in favor of clause 1 as amended, that is 8,964,964,099,373 naira stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 5 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 6 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 7 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 8 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 9 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 10 and 11 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And those in favor that clause 12 and 13 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 11, again as amended, reflecting the 8,916,964,099,373 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that short title page 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 2, again as amended, showing the 8,964,999,373. No, it's not the current one. Yes. And also the 4 trillion and 65 billion 940 million 383 684 naira as amended stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Adiola. Leader of the Senate. Information,
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to inform you that the two issues raised on this budget have been communicated to the House, and they are going to adopt the same thing. So there will be no need for any harmonization conference committee. The Zamfara intervention fund will be captured by them, and the change from those intervention funds to the development commission will also be effected there.
Leader of the Senate.
Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse plenary for the charge report progress.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion as moved.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, point of order, leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that we suspend our order 13 to enable the Senate seat beyond 2 p.m.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as moved.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion for extension of time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of Supply considered the report of the Committee of Appropriation on the 2019 Appropriation Bill and approved as follows. Schedule Part A, statutory transfer as recommended. Part B, debt service as recommended. Part C, recurrent non-debt expenditure as amended. Part D, capital expenditure as amended. Clauses 1 as amended. Clauses 2 to 12 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as amended. Short title as recommended. Long title as amended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read the third time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion as moved.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the bill be now read third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 8,916,964,099,373 naira only, of which 522,892,965 naira only is for statutory transfers. 2,254,014,113,092 naira only is for debt service. 4,065,940,383,684 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 2,94,790,632 naira only is for contribution to the Development Fund for capital expenditure for the year ending on the 31st day of December 2019, third reading.
A bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation of the total sum of 8,916,964,099,373 naira only, of which 502,058,892,965 naira only is for statutory transfers. 2,254,014,113,092 naira only for debt service. 4,065,940,383,684 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 2,094,909,632 naira only is for the contribution to the Development Fund for capital expenditure for the year ending on the 31st day of December 2019, third reading. The bill is read the third time and passed. I want to thank our colleagues, particularly for their understanding and being able for us to be able to meet today's deadline in passing the bill, and thank the committee of appropriation, and hope that with this budget passed that the executive will also ensure a full implementation of the budget for the benefit of Nigerians as a whole. Just a couple of announcements. All members of the Senate Committee on Youth and Sports are invited for a meeting today, 30th April by 2 p.m. at room 112, Senate New Building, Sign Center, Obinagba. Also, announcement of the ad hoc committee or the special committee on the Zainab Abibu Aliu members, Abdullah Adamu, Senator Samegu, Senator Wamako, Senator Babakabak Gabai, Senator Monsurat, and also myself also in the committee. We will now adjourn for an hour. Yeah. We will adjourn for an hour so that the management can get the votes and proceedings done, and we'll reconvene at 3 o'clock. I know, I'll move at 3 o'clock. Oh, it's not yet 2 o'clock, okay. So, no, they said they need an hour, that's why. So, Lydia, we can move. They said they need an hour, so, yeah. So, you can kindly move the motion, thank you.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that we adjourn for 1 hour to return at 3 p.m. to enable the Secretariat work on the works and proceedings. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion that we adjourn for 1 hour, so 3 p.m.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we adjourn to 3 o'clock, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Hereby adjourn to 3 p.m. prompt.